Ladies and gentlemen, the review this week is for challengers. Nick, I hope you like churros. I brought just one of them, and we have to share it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a brand new episode of Two Peas on a Podcast where we review the latest and sometimes greatest movies every week. Your host, Gerald, here with you, and your co-host on the other side is about to serve me with one of his furry green balls, but I am prepared to... I don't know, I'm done. What's up, Nick? How are you, buddy?
What is wrong with you?
I don't know, man. There's a lot of balls flying around
He sees an erotic movie with Zendaya in his head. I'm telling you, it's been even
stop.
before the episode proper. It's been. You should have seen the message that was in the chat when I logged in here. It just
Zendaya.
Scary stuff. Something about playing with a racket. I don't know.
Zendaya. The review this week is for challengers. Luca Guadagnino's new kind of, I don't know, sexy drama sports movie that we're going to discuss for the review proper when we get into it. Nick, I want to make a quick announcement up here at the top of the show. I kind of teased it last week. You know, you and I got together and we talked about Rise of the Planet of the Apes last week.
I'm out of here. That's it. I spoiled it for you guys. I ruined the surprise.
What?
I'm really not.
You better not be. One of the roulette picks we did last week, and I kind of teased it a little bit at the end of that episode, but we are going to be incorporating a movie draft episode once a month starting in May. We have a special guest that we're going to have join us for the very, very first one, the inaugural. I'm not quite sure what the topic is going to be yet. Nick and you and I can discuss that at the end of this episode and lock it down because we're going to record that in about a week or so. So we'll come up with the topic for our special guest, and we will draft movies, something that you and I both have really missed doing ever since our boy Justin Winters kind of folded his podcast. I've heard other shows do it, and it's fun to listen to, but I haven't had myself haven't had a chance to do it in quite a while. I know you're in the same boat. So I'm looking forward to adding that to the Two Peas roster, and that'll be in rotation starting in May. Nick, I know you're pumped about that too, yeah?
I honestly can't wait. I famously draft terribly. No one has the same movie taste I do, and I always pick the wildest, weirdest, off the wall stuff. So yeah. I'm excited to get back into that territory. They were always the most fun, right? You get like four people on the mic all at the same time, just trading barbs back and forth about the picks, and giving each other crap and having a great time. Always the most fun. Always the most fun. And one thing that I've really missed about, I mean, we do the show every week, and I love doing the show with you and all that kind of stuff. But I miss that collaborative, like, or another rando shows up, other random voices coming in and just bouncing off of each other, because I think it keeps conversations fresh when you have when you have more people come in like that. We need to get like 12 people all at the same time and then make Dan edit it and see if we can make them go crazy.
Just for Dan's sake, yeah.
I heard him yell. Wait, what was that? I just heard Dan yell from here, I think.
So you're a draft with your heart kind of guy for sure. And I know that about you.
Always.
Yeah, I know that
100%.
Too,
I do not. I will say this from the outset, and I will say it every time we do one. I do not play to win. I play to have fun, and I play just to be me. I play just be myself. Some people play, and they're like, oh my God, I've got to pick the picks that I'm going to win. Like, right. I don't care if I win or not. It does not matter to me. It doesn't mean anything to me.
I'm going to add a little kind of like extra layer when we do the movie drafts here on the
Wait, do I get a cash prize?
And
if so, we can throw that whole I don't want to win thing right out the door.
Maybe. Maybe a tennis racket. Well, we'll see. Ball's optional. Hang tight. So I don't know if this might be a bit of a surprise to you, but I put it in our little Google Doc that you and I share together. But we're going to have categories as we go through the rounds to make it a little more interesting and a little more layered, and have to have a little more strategy when you draft too. So it'll be fun. As I'm looking at the spreadsheet real quick, Nick, because I don't know if you have it there, but it's going to be, you're going to get a pick from the genre of comedy, action, horror, thriller, or sci-fi, blockbuster, which would be any movie that made over 100 million domestically, any movie that won an Oscar. It doesn't matter what Oscar it was. It could have been for song. It could have been for picture. It could have been for wardrobes. It doesn't matter. And then drama. So there'll be 6 categories.
So it'll
you'll have
have to be a sub, like depending on whatever the topic it is, your picks will have to fall into a subcategory. Is that what you're telling me?
right. So you'll get
Okay.
6 picks. Like you'll have a team of 6 movies. But if you decide to, if we did movies from this year, for example, and you decided to draft challengers, then you could put that in a drama category, probably, I would say, right? Safely. And you could maybe make an argument for it to be like in a thriller category. So you would have to be sure you would have to have, but then your drama pick would be off the board. Do you see what I'm saying? So that would be your drama.
Okay.
So then
So
you have
can't
5 more categories.
you can't just go to the well over and over
Right.
for different types of. Okay.
Right. So again, we'll let everyone know what the first draft topic is, and we'll get some suggestions, like we normally do for one big question, from folks for some of their favorite movies and whatever that initial subject will be. And then we're going to look to our patrons and followers to come up with some ideas for us. And they've already been throwing some over on Patreon, Nick, of some different categories that we could do. Some of them are breaking our balls a little bit, but there's some real ones in there too. So we'll dig in there and draw one out of the hat, and we'll start coming up with some
Somebody
good
already
drafts.
picked best A24 movie. Somebody already said A24 movies, right?
I mean, we're doing that for sure. I mean, we're definitely going to do that.
Jesus.
We have to
Best
do that
best Mia Goth performances.
because Maxine comes out this year, so we have to do that. All right, so more to come on that. Movie drafts are going to be part of 2Ps in the future, starting in May, and we'll have a special guest to help us get that kicked off.
Love
So
it.
stay tuned. Stay tuned for all those details. Nick, as I said, the review this week is for challengers, but before we get there, we do like to start out by seeing what the fans had to ask us over online and what we call one big question.
You gotta ask yourself a question.
I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
All right, Nick, so I figured I would start us out this week because I'm looking at the questions that we got over on the Facebook fan page, and our boy Jared Taylor, who comes through every week. Jared, we love you, brother, patron of the show. He had a good one here, and obviously this is inspired by challengers, but he says, what is the sexiest sport in the world? Nick, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Sexiest sport in the world. I'm trying to. I mean, there's obviously like the really like man-ish answers you could give of like ladies Jello wrestling or something like that, which would just seem strange.
I didn't think you were going there, but I thought
The sexiest sport. I'm just gonna say ice hockey for Dan, just for Dan's sake. Ice hockey, just man, just throwing your weight into somebody else at full speed into those boards, just that collision of flesh on flesh. And
I mean,
see, you're thinking about it now. You're playing with sticks. You keep whacking things around with your stick.
All right, calm down. Through the male gaze, it would probably be like volleyball, like beach volleyball. Oiled up dudes, shirtless, and chicks in bikinis. Like, I mean, come on.
It ain't even about bikinis. Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta give the man answer here, but volleyball shorts are the greatest article of clothing ever invented. I'm sorry, they are.
Yeah. No,
Full stop.
I'm thinking
Full
like
stop.
beach volleyball is probably the way to go. I mean,
Beach
wrestling
volleyball
is pretty
is nice.
sexy too, though. I mean, half naked dudes and or ladies kind of embracing in the squared circle.
I do love my mommy.
Yeah. So I don't know, some good ones. What do you have over on the Discord chat there? Any good questions for us this week, Nick?
I've got a question. Big GG money from Jason Nerdrovert said, "What comes to mind first when you think of movies that you might have enjoyed but are easily forgettable?" It's a tough question because Yaney already gave the correct answer, which is none because they were forgotten. Like Yaney already gave the correct smart ass answer, but it's true to a degree because if it's forgettable, then you're not really going to remember a whole lot about it. I'm going to say as a broad answer, things I rate like a 6 or a 7, like movies that I pass, but not like enthusiastically pass, like anything that falls into that kind of lump. 7's like I only have 4 passing grades, Gerald. Wait, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 5. But yeah, 7's like my second lowest passing grade. So to me, a 7's like it's pretty good, but I'm probably not ever going to watch it.
My math skills are rubbing off on you. I can see, by the way.
Wow. 6,
I,
7, 8, 9, 10. That's 5, Gerald.
yeah, nailed it. The first thing that comes to mind for me is the new Roadhouse because I did really like that movie and I did think it was good, but I have kind of forgotten about it until I was just sitting here trying to think of an answer for that question, which is kind of weird because we just saw it like a month and a half
I'm
ago.
sorry. I want to reread the question to you and make sure you understood it. It said
Yeah,
movies that you might have enjoyed.
yeah, exactly.
There's
I enjoyed
nothing
it.
enjoyable about that
No,
colonoscopy of a film.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, you gave it a 1, I think, or 2 or something.
I gave it a 1, and it was
Oh,
lucky to get that. It got a
God.
1 because I can't rate it nothing.
Wow. All right. Well,
The key grip worked really hard on that one, so I wanted to recognize the key grip's work there.
interesting choice for your scoring system there. All right. Thanks for the questions, guys. As always, one big question. If you want to get involved, check the show notes and join up to our various outlets on social media. And you can drop some questions to us to shout out on the show each and every week. Nick, we are going to be getting into Luca Guadagnino's new film, Challengers, starring the lovely Zendaya, which we've already talked about this year from Dune Part 2, which, if you're keeping score at home, is my #1 film of the year thus far. All right, so just
don't make me have to crap on Dune Part 2 again for another episode.
What we like to do, guys, before we start discussing the film is we give our score out of 10 up top to each other. We reveal that to each other. We have not talked about it yet. It's what we like to call the early score reveal.
Damn it, this always happens. I think I'm going to score and then I never score. It's not fair.
My early score reveal for Dune Part 2 is that I've subtracted yet another point from the score. It's now at like -4 out of 10.
Every time I mention it, you just take a point.
Every time Gerald brings it up, my score just lowers again.
Hey, maybe it was circle back around at some point and come back around and start collecting points again.
No, it definitely will not.
It'll just stay in the negative, I guess. That's a bummer. All right, count us in, man. Here we go. Our score out of 10 for Challengers.
All right, fine. 3, 2, 1. Booyah! Oh,
hey!
Come on! This is lame.
2 weeks in a row.
Boo.
We could have rolled the clip from Rise of the Planet of the Apes. We both gave that one an 8 as well.
Let me
Let's tell.
There you go. It's just a 3 now. It's just a 3.
So, you changed it. Let's tell everyone. So it's an 8 for me and also an 8 from Nick.
Another 8 from me. Sorry, Brad. Brad wanted me to hate this.
Which is an 8 from the P's altogether on Challengers. Nick, I just had that spreadsheet open a minute ago. That might be your highest rated now, right?
That is my highest rated film of this year so far. Yes.
Yeah, I think because Civil War would have been in there somewhere, but I think you gave that a 7.
Gave that a 7. Yeah. Gave Mean Girls a 7. Gave Love Lies Bleeding a 7. So yeah, this is my top film of 2024 today.
Yeah, I want to hear what you had to say about it. I was worried going into this discussion with you because I'm biased. I'm a bit of a fanboy of Lucas films. Like, I've loved all of them. I know you probably didn't see it, but he did a Suspiria remake that I thought was really, really good. Call Me by Your Name was infamously in my top 5 movies of the last decade when I did that episode with Paul several years ago. And I just love this guy's style, and I love how all of his movies are so different. Like, they all have kind of like similar thematic elements to them, but like they're just shot so differently. Like, he's got one horror movie, he's got this one really like quiet Italian countryside romance, and then he's got this just like sports movie that's really energetic and frantic. And I mean, we're obviously going to talk about specifics with Challengers when we get into our spoiler portion of the review. But I love not only this movie, but how it speaks to Luca's kind of filmography thus far and how it's another layer to his style. I mean, it's just another kind of like infinity stone that he's collecting in his glove. It's just a different kind of movie for him, and I thought he still did a really, really good job. And then the performances were all just, in my opinion, incredible. The score is unbelievable. Like, I can't wait to just like listen to this score over and over again when I'm on a road trip or whatever. I mean, Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor never miss, in my opinion, and this is another banger. What did you think, man? Generally, we'll let everybody know when we get into spoilers.
It's interesting when you talk about the way that the film is shot, because I definitely have some issues with the way the film was shot in a couple of different ways. We'll talk about it as we get a little bit deeper into the review. But I mean, overall, it's a movie about tennis, like something that I never like ever. Like, you look at it from the outside looking in, you just say it's a tennis movie starring Zendaya and two people I've never heard of, Mike Face, Joshua Connor. I've never heard of them before. I have no idea who they are, so I don't know if they've been in anything or whatever else. But you look at it from the outside, and you're just like, this does not speak to me at all. Like, so I went into this, and like, make no mistake, like anybody who's listened to reviews on this show this year, I've not had the best 2024 in film, so I've been getting a little bit cynical about film in this year. I'm waiting for that one that's really going to sneak up on me and surprise me. And this film definitely does. You're absolutely right. Reznor and Ross's score absolutely it sucks you into this film, and it really, really makes it just incredibly exciting all throughout the runtime. I swear, even if you're not somebody who gives a crap about tennis, you don't need to enjoy this film or to really, really get into it, because it's about so much more than that. Tennis is really just kind of the backdrop for, it's you could, here's to be fair, and you could replace tennis in this movie with any other sport, correct?
Yeah.
Like, do you agree with that? I think you could
do.
really replace tennis with any other thing. So the tennis isn't like, you don't have to know anything about tennis to necessarily really, really enjoy this film. But I mean, I talk in the past few reviews that we've done about characters in films that are not drawn well enough. These are characters that are so richly drawn on the page, and then so richly performed. They stick with you when you leave that theater. You're constantly thinking about the different decisions and the different actions of these different characters all throughout the course of this film. And I love characters like that just hang with you, that just stay with you when you leave the cinema. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about some of the different things that happen in this movie, but it's a sexy ass movie.
Yeah, it is. And
I mean,
you mentioned the tennis aspect of it, which is exciting, and there's some cool scenes there with the different tennis matches and things that happen on the tennis court. But I do think that, and I think this is similar to what you were saying, but I think that the tennis itself is really just a vehicle to kind of relay the overall story. This whole thing is kind of a game between these three people. And it kind of plays like that over a couple decades in this movie, right? I feel like 15 years or something like that.
15 years, give or take, yeah.
Yeah, over the course of this film. So, and we'll get into who's playing the game and who's winning the game and that kind of thing. But I think that is what the tennis is supposed to illustrate for like a real life kind of like depiction for us. Like, oh, we can understand people competing in a tennis match. That makes sense. But maybe what some of these characters are doing over the course of that 15 years is obviously a much deeper type of game and a lot higher stakes, because it's their lives and lives of people around them, and
a lot of it's meant to really convey the emotion of the moment. And it's a lot of it's really meant to be a little bit more introspective in terms of what these characters might be thinking or feeling at the same time. Instead of spelling it out, it really, really uses the tennis as the vehicle to kind of convey some of that emotionality. Instead of having the characters have big dramatic blow-ups with each other, it's the way that they're hitting the ball, and it's the way that the shot is tracking the ball. Even though that doesn't work in every case, there's some baffling shot choices, especially in the later part of the movie, because I really feel like Luka just got to a point where he was just like, man, I've shot tennis every possible way I could shoot tennis, so let's try to do something different with it. And it doesn't work, in my opinion.
Right.
Well, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, there was a couple unique angles for sure that kind of took me out of it for a split second. I mean, it didn't ruin the movie for me, obviously, but it did kind of take me out for a minute.
Ruin the movie, but it definitely didn't add to it.
What the fuck is
it
he
was
doing
just
that?
it was just like, can we not, please?
Yeah. So we'll get into that and a lot of other things after the promo break, Nick. When we come back, guys, we will be into spoilers for Challengers. We both loved it. We will tell you why we loved it. We'll tell you what problems we have with it as well. So we will do a full spoiler review for Challengers on the other side of this break. We will be right back. 2. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are going to be going into a full discussion on challengers. It'll be a freestyle conversation where we will be talking about everything that we liked and saw in the movie, different scenes and plot beats and whatever. So there will be spoilers. If you have not seen it, please come back to this portion of the review after you get a chance to check out challengers. Nick, I want to start our spoiler discussion by asking you point blank, in your opinion, is this a sports movie?
No. Sports is just the backdrop. Sports is the setting.
So if we were doing our classic top 5 format and we were doing top 5 sports movies, this wouldn't even be in consideration for you.
I mean, to jump into the very end of the movie, like the whole movie is predicated on it's this match between Art and Patrick, who used to be doubles when they were
Champions.
in college, I guess. They used to be like doubles, a team together, and they were really, really great. And then Art goes his way and becomes like a super tennis pro, while Patrick basically looks like he's homeless most of the time.
Yeah.
And so, they end up in this tournament against each other 13 years later. I'm pretty sure it is exactly.
I think so, yeah.
And, like the whole thing is about them in the finals of this match and the reasons why both of them need to win it. All the other forces that are circling around them as everything happens, but you don't even find out who wins that match at the end. Like it is a little ambiguous. You're right. It's left pretty ambiguous at the end of the movie as to who actually won the match. Because I think by the time you get to that point, it's not important who wins it. That's what
who
I
do you think though? Because
until
you just said, the only reason I'm asking you who you think won is because you're right. But just until you just said that, I, in my mind, thought Art won that match.
Why?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying, because I'm sitting here I'm computing it in my mind and kind of reliving it as you're saying it. I'm like, I guess they don't really tell us. But I did think that he spiked it at the end there and they embraced, But you're right. You don't see the ball hit you know what I mean? You don't even know if it was in bounds, necessarily. So that's interesting to take away. Did you have who you think the victor was, or you never thought about it?
No, okay. I never thought about it. And I'm glad that it doesn't definitively, like, it could have ended with a very clear, definitive, like the ball hits and Art is like running around and he's like cheering and pumping his fists, or Patrick is running around. It could have ended with that definitive kind of scene, and it doesn't on purpose.
And I feel
that too. And I feel like this is one of those movies where that ambiguity is everything. Like, you can rewrite this movie. The thing I find the most fascinating about movies like this and in characters like this is try to climb, if you will, into these characters' heads for a few minutes and think of everything that must be going on inside of their minds, all the different stuff, like even just all the things they've been through with each other. And come on, dude. These are so well realized and developed characters.
Yeah, what I want to say, one of the kind of ticks I take off for the movie overall is Tashi's kind of portrayal in the last act of the movie, because let me think of how I want to phrase this. So I think the movie, and of course this is my interpretation, I don't know, you might not share the sentiment, but after seeing the movie from beginning to end, my interpretation is that really the narrative of the film leans a little more towards Art and Patrick's relationship, and because they have that, I guess, cute story about how they've known each other since grade school, and they taught each other how to jerk off, and at age 12 or whatever. And so they've known each other essentially their whole lives, and they've also grown in tennis together.
Yeah.
And college, became pros together, played, you know what I mean? So they've literally been each other's right-hand man their whole life. And then Zendaya comes into the picture, and she almost, especially like in the trailers and stuff, was portrayed like as this kind of puppeteer, like puppet master, and they're her two little, white boys that she's kind of controlling or whatever, which, I buy it as Zendaya. But I thought it was interesting after seeing the movie, and then I want to hear if you get what I'm saying or if you saw this too, but after seeing the movie, she was not as prominent as I was expecting in the overall narrative of the story. I thought from the three main characters, we got a lot more about Art and Patrick and their connection and how their constant seeking approval of Tashi and wanting, their desire for her is really what drove them from the moment they met her until the end of the film. And it was always kind of about the game. I mean, there was a moment in the movie when Tashi told, because, they both wanted to get with her, and she said, whoever wins the match, I'll give you my number. Right.
Yeah.
So the scene before that, Patrick was saying he was going to let Art win for the purposes of his tennis future and stuff like that. And as soon as you heard that, they both played their hearts out, and, Patrick ended up winning and ended up getting her number, and they ended up dating for a period of time after that.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to much later in the film when Tashi approaches Patrick and she says, look, I want you to lose this match tomorrow. Art needs this. Like, he's got a career, he needs a Grand Slam, like whatever. So she was kind of orchestrating a lot of stuff, I felt like, but I don't know if that was malicious. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I felt like maybe she didn't know what she wanted, or maybe she wanted both of them. But the two of them really are at home with each other. Does this make sense what I'm saying? That's kind of like how I'm interpreting the triangle here. But I want to hear your take on it.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying about the way these characters are drawn in the film, because you could look at this film and you could watch it again and you could have a completely different reaction to all the different things that are going on. You could rewatch the film and you could have a completely different opinion of Art, let's say, or Patrick, or whatever else. And I think that the genius thing that the script does and that the performances take you through in this film is that at each point in the film, each one of the core trio kind of looks like the protagonist of this film, and you're kind of following along with their story, and you're kind of almost rooting for them in a way, like whatever's going on at that different point in the story. But then you see them from a different perspective at a different point in the film. Like, you see at the beginning of the movie, you see Patrick show up and he's sleeping in his car. He's broke. He's, just kind of this gruff, down on his luck sort of person. And basically one of the things I clocked right away at the beginning of the movie, basically for I can't even remember how long it is in the movie, Art doesn't speak. Art doesn't say anything. It's all his team. It's all Tashi. It's all everybody else around them, all speaking for him.
Oh, I recognize that too. Yeah.
And he says nothing. So it's this fascinating way that you get these snapshots of all these different characters. To kind of circle back to your question, like my interpretation, like, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know. And it's exciting that I don't really know, because at any given time, you could ask me tomorrow, I could write you a thesis about how Patrick was like the master manipulator in this whole scenario. And then like the next time after that, I could write you it's Tashi. And then the next time after that, I could write you that it's Art, and all these different things, and how there need to be loved and their need to kind of seek approval from Tashi, how that drives them and drives the wedge between them and all those kinds of things. It's so fascinating the way that these characters are drawn. They don't feel like movie characters to me. And what I mean by that is they feel like real people with real problems. Like, real life is complicated. Like, real life, there's a lot, like, you have to deal with it. I'm sure I have to deal with it. Like, everybody's got a lot like of stuff to deal with, and a lot of different things that have kind of put us on the pathway to becoming these people that we are. And I kind of just, like, at some point, I just disassociated myself from trying to figure out whose side I was on. To go back to our Civil War review, right? Like, I tried to kind of disassociate myself from whose side I was on, and just be like, these are all in some ways good people, and in some ways toxic people, who in some ways are dependent on each other, but in other ways are harmful to each other. You know, so I really, really, really love how how complex and how complicated all these characters are.
And
Because I could watch this movie, tomorrow, and I could have a completely different takeaway. I feel, and it's not every movie that you get that kind of thing, right? It's not every movie that you get to have that.
Sure, and there were a lot of different layers with each character too. Like none of those three characters were like simple. You know, what I mean, they weren't like black and white, like cut and dry. You know, and I like that they were very multi-layered like that. Like I'm thinking of how Art had this, crush and desire on Tashi since the moment he saw her, and ends up marrying her, right? Which you would think is like a dream life. And he's a tennis pro, and he's obviously very successful. And they have that bit in there where they're doing the ad together for like Aston Martin or something like that, and
Yeah.
it's obviously making a lot of money, and they're rich and whatever. But
His face is on tennis rackets. He's like
right,
super
right.
famous. Yeah.
But also, Luca incorporates that layer for his character where he's never beaten Patrick, right?
Yep.
And even though that's his dude and that's his best friend, and they grew up together and they taught each other how to play and made each other better, he's never beaten him, like in a professional sense, like in anything that would actually matter. So that always sticks with him until that final match that we keep, going back to. So that's a different layer for that character. So even though he has all this stuff, that's the one thing he doesn't have is a victory over Patrick. And then obviously it's pretty obvious what Patrick's dealing with is that he doesn't have the life that Art has. So that kind of, he's being hit with that. Tashi is an interesting character to me, and what I wanted to hear what you had to say, but in the last act of the movie, I felt like, unfortunately, her character took a little bit of a back seat the way she was written, and she had that kind of where she stepped out on Art in that one scene and went to meet Patrick. But I think that sat with me a little bit better after the fact, but as it was happening, I was like, because then you have that scene where she comes back and she looks in on trying to find out where Art is, and he's laying with her daughter. And it's a beautiful dad moment. He's putting her to bed, and it's kind of on the nose or whatever. But I don't know. I felt like she was a very strong. I don't want to use the word manipulative. That's not really the word that's not what I'm trying to say. But she was very much in charge. I felt like even after her injury and stuff, of kind of taking hold of her life and really taking hold of Art's career. But then the last act of the film, there was a lot of things written in there that made her kind of unfavorable to the viewer, I felt like. And I don't know why we had to go that route for her. And then at the end, she's really just sitting in the audience, and you don't know who she's pulling for, really. I mean, you really don't, which is a beautiful thing, kind of like what you're saying. And I'm kind of glad I don't really know because she had just, had the night with Patrick and, obviously has something for him, whether she wants to admit it or not. But she's married to Art, so she obviously cares about him as well, and she's in charge of his career and success and all that. So I don't know. What do you think about Tashi's arc in this movie? I guess what I'm saying is I didn't like kind of the ending of her arc. I felt like it was maybe going somewhere else.
So I'm gonna be pitching a lot of questions back at you. I think I'm serving, like, we're playing tennis right now and I'm smacking the ball back at you. But like, I don't know what your expectation was watching that character, because when I watched that character, like, way before, and I mean, so this movie plays around chronologically a lot. It hops all over the place. If you put it chronologically, like, she steps out on Art a lot with Patrick. Basically, whenever Patrick makes his way back into their lives, like, she ends up finding her way to Patrick. And there's a hint of that, because he confronts her somewhere like in the middle of the movie and says, "I want you to be my coach." And then she's like, "Not a chance. I'd never be your coach," whatever. And then, like, he hands her his number and is like, just in case you think about wanting to do the coach thing or whatever. And she takes the number and she doesn't throw it away. Like, she doesn't get rid of it. And like right there, I don't, here's the thing. Zendaya,
I mean, do you see her as an antagonistic character though? That's what I'm trying to get.
No, because I don't see, but well, at some point in the, at different points in the movie, each of these characters is a protagonist or an antagonist. And I think that that's its genius. I think that at times in this movie, I think Patrick's the antagonist. I think at times in this movie, Art's the antagonist. So I think it's deliberately drawn that way so that you have to think, and that you can't just color black and white and just say, oh, this person's the bad person, this person's the
No,
good
I agree.
person,
I agree
whatever.
with that, and I think the movie does a good job of that. I agree with you, but I think Patrick and Art's through line is their want for Tashi, but Tashi is the beacon on a mountaintop, right? She kind of stands alone from the two of them because they pursued her initially, and arguably for 13 years they pursued her. So I guess I don't know. I think Tashi is a central focus in this movie, and there were times when I loved her, and there were times when I hated her. There were times when I was afraid of her. There was times when I was turned on by her. And I think that's kind of what you're saying too, is that she's kind of all over these characters are all over the place. But I just don't really. I know that you're saying you don't know. I get that you're saying that, but I'm trying to get something out of you if you had to go one way or the other, because with her character specifically.
But not knowing is knowing. You understand my say? Like, not knowing is still.
But let me
knowing
finish
something about these characters.
Right, but let me finish though. But I think that there's a clear purpose for us to contemplate whether she was purposefully doing any of these things, like on a malicious scale, like a malevolent scale, like where like I'm going to play these guys, because she starts out the movie in that hotel room on that first night by saying, "I'm not a homewrecker." You know, she knows like these dudes are basically each other's like, you know, they're locked in. So if I get in the middle of this, that might fuck them up. I mean, she knows that. And that was 13 years prior to the ending of the film. So I don't know. I guess it's fascinating to like contemplate, like, did she know what she was doing here? Was she playing tennis? So now that she's injured, this is her way of getting that rush of playing tennis. Where she's playing these two dudes to see how this match kind of ends up. And I just don't know. I don't, which I guess is the beauty of it, but I just don't know.
I guess the great thing about this film is when I say I don't know, that's an answer to the question, because I think there's just a clear argument. This is Total Recall to me. G, was he dreaming the whole time, or was he really a secret agent on Mars? Like, that's what I love about this. Was she really manipulating them both the whole time? There's a clear cut argument you could make in the film that because she got injured, she used Art and his trajectory to still achieve the fame that she wanted herself as a tennis prodigy and everything. Right. That argument's clearly in the film, but then you can also very clearly paint the argument that Tashi doesn't put herself on this pedestal. They do. They're the ones that constantly are putting her in this position, and she just goes along for the ride. So I don't think there's a clear-cut answer to that, and that's why I love this movie as much as I do. That's why this movie is as good as it is, because it doesn't tell you definitively. Like I said, the great thing about it is each of them is the antagonist and the protagonist, back and forth. I mean, really, think about it in terms of tennis. Maybe it shouldn't be a different sport. Maybe tennis is vital to the screenplay, in the fact that it's a constant serve back and forth. You know, and sometimes this person is down, 40 love or whatever. And sometimes it's going down to the wire, back and forth with the volley. Like, I love how complex and how complicated these characters are.
The last 15 to 20 minutes or so was exhilarating cinema. I mean, with the score in place, especially, and
that's the question I wanted to ask. Actually, that was another question that we got from Brad, who said, besides The Social Network, what has been Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's best film score? I do love their score in The Social Network too, but I'm going to agree with you. I think this actually might be it. This score is incredible.
So good. I mean, there's no way you would have told me that anybody, even Reznor Ross, would have been able to capture the essence of not only tennis and kind of the exciting back and forth of that game, but also like the sexiness and like kind of the kind of hip youthfulness of this movie too. Because
let me give you a taste of this too, because this is a 2 hour and 11 minute movie, so it's over 2 hours long, and it's a tennis movie. you know, ultimately at the end of the day. And I want to get into a couple other things, you know, before we ramp up on the movie.
Yeah.
But there are different periods of time in this film where I felt like it might start to lull a little bit. And then all of a sudden, when you felt like it was about to lull, it was like boom, 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 boom,
Yep.
boom. Like all of a sudden that score kicked in,
Yep.
and that score, it's genius in the way that it just kind of immediately brings you back into the film and brings you right back along for the ride. So you're immediately invested again. Like even if you find yourself slipping a little bit, and I'm like, here's the thing: by the time you get to like the umpteenth tennis hit, like whatever, like they have characters, they have wide views of the court so you can see both characters. They have the camera shooting directly at one person, and how many balls fly at the screen where you're just like, woo, Jesus.
And they had ball point of view on a few of them too.
No, terrible, utterly terrible. The
one that I thought you were
first-person
going to
point of
mention
view-
was, I thought you
was
were
it
going to
the
mention
first-person
the
point of view.
below ground one where it was like looking up through the clear ground.
The below ground one I didn't mind. The below ground one I
Okay.
thought was artistic. I liked that one, but I really hated. There was a first person one where it was like the camera was the character swinging the tennis racket. That I hated, and I hated. The ball point of view.
Yeah.
I hated
Yeah.
the ball point of view too. That was terrible. Like no,
Yeah, they
like,
were weird.
It really felt like it got toward the end of the movie, and Luca was just like, Jesus, how many more ways can I shoot tennis?
How else can I show this? Yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
what it felt like to me. It was just like, how many more ways can we think of to shoot tennis? Well, make the camera the ball. Sure.
Dude. So they're having this like neck and neck battle in the final set, and it's the tie break set or whatever, and it's getting down to the last few serves and to decide who wins. There's a scene early on in the movie in one of the flashbacks where Patrick, you know, he won her phone number, right?
Yep.
So he took her out, and Art says, you know, I don't want you to tell me if you fucked her. I just give me a sign. And they come up with this thing where, because they both have ticks in their serves, like different things they do. And
yeah, Patrick's is always like that, like behind the
right.
head thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And Art places the ball in the like center of the racket.
In the
right
neck of the
before
racket, yeah.
The neck of it, yeah, before he does it. And so Art says, okay, if you did, then just do that, you know, just serve like me, basically. So he does. And so they both know, okay, he had sex with her. So 13 years later, they're having this match, and it's getting down to the fucking end, bro. Like, we're down to the last, like, serve or two, depending on what happens. And Patrick does that again. And this is after, you know, Zendaya called him up and they met out at his car. Dude, that was like, I was like, no, he didn't. That was the coldest shit I've ever seen. Like, he's just like, yeah, I fucked your wife last night, you know, in the middle of the match, basically. And then it didn't drag because it was a very like exhilarating moment and kind of surprising moment. But I felt like they held on Art's reaction forever. Did you not? It like went to slow motion, and like he was just so focused on finding that out before. And I think he even got the time penalty or whatever. You know, because I think you have to serve within a minute, or they give you a time penalty.
So Patrick got a time penalty. Because obviously, like as you reach the climax of this movie, all the things that happened with Tashi are weighing on Patrick and everything as they play this match out, and he gets a time delay. And then let me tell you, like it's like this movie was probably between a 6 and a 7 for me before that moment where they call back to that initial thing where he
dude.
As soon as I see that, I'm just like. No, like because it immediately brings all the emotion that these characters have gone through the whole runtime of this movie to the fore in this moment, in that game, in that serve, in that everything. It immediately brings all that emotion of everything that's happened to them rushing to that moment. And dude, like so much of it is so good because
I'm with you.
There's no dialogue. Like it's just literally you're just watching these characters react to this stuff. And like we all know how great Zendaya is. Like let me just again say how good Zendaya is in this movie, but that's not to take away from Josh O'Connor and Mike Faced. Incredible performances, dude. Like I was like, but when he did that and like he gets that little grin on his face, and then he gets a penalty for audible cursing, which I guess is a thing in tennis. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But you know, and then like
because Art looks over at her, and of course she doesn't know the inside thing.
She doesn't know the tell. No, so
she doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And when he tells him that by doing that, and then Art kind of looks over at her for some kind of explanation, and you can see her character going, "What's going on? Like, why are they looking at me?"
That's what
So she does,
dude,
yeah.
it's so
And
good,
then
man.
that's when the movie. That's why I said like the next 15 minutes was basically the match, but maybe there may have been a flashback or two mixed in there. But like,
No, I mean, dude, that's like the last 2 minutes of the movie. That's like the end. That's
yeah,
like
that's
right.
true.
That's like right at the end.
That's like right when they go for the.
It's so like, I mean, in terms of film endings, like you want to talk about like film endings that are going to stick with you for a while, like just that whole sequence of events, just like him holding the ball up and giving him that tell of like, yeah, I slept with your wife, and like just Art's reaction to it, that long shot of it, and then finally he just has that reaction where he's like, fuck this, or something like that, whatever he says. And then they go back into the back and forth, and in more of that intensity of the tennis back and forth.
Because after they both get the penalties or whatever, Art basically surrenders that last serve, and he lets him get. Remember, he just hit it underhanded, like really easily.
Yep.
And he got the point so that they could go to a tie break, and then they basically played their guts out in the end. Yep. And she's watching it, and there's that scene of her like white knuckle clenching her fists together as she's watching it, because she doesn't know the outcome's going to be either, because they're both playing at the top of their game. And there's a couple times in the movie where she says, I just want to see some good fucking tennis. Like, I just want you guys to play your best game, you know? And I feel like, and again, we can argue whether she manipulated it to that point or not, but that crowd that was there, and by default, us, the audience, are getting their best game. Like, they're playing each other at the highest level that they could play each other.
Their emotional, the investment they have in the game, physically, emotionally, mentally, like everything all comes to a head. I mean, that's an interesting perspective to say that, you know, she was able to pull the strings to that point to get it to, they're going to play the best tennis game of their lives and give her the best tennis game that she's ever she's ever won. I mean, it's interesting. Like I said, I love the different ways that you can look at all the different events that happen in this film and try to figure out everything. I don't even know how else to phrase that, really.
She lives through tennis, and again, I think tennis is a larger just kind of token for, you know, a larger point in the story, love, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, desire. But I mean, she mentions, like, you know, there's a couple characters that'll be like, you know, we're always talking about tennis, or all you guys do is talk about tennis, and she says, well, what else is there to talk about? You know, that's like the thing for her, you know what I mean? And for her to see the two men that arguably she's in love with play the game of their lives against each other, essentially for her, you know what I mean? Her character, Tashi, would find that the pinnacle of exhilaration, I would think, you know? Yeah. So, and it just culminates, man, with the score that we've been talking about, and the fucking, both of them kind of charging the net, because they get closer and closer and closer to the net as that match goes on, until eventually something's got to happen. The point's got to give. And it does, and like you said, we don't know which way the ball falls because they don't really show it. And it cuts to Zendaya just screaming, "Let's go!" Like, because she's so fucking excited about what she's watching, and that's it. The fucking movie's over. I mean, it's a hard cut. It's fucking a mic drop. It is a mic drop of a final act in this movie, and I thought the character development and the relationship journey that we went on with these three characters leading up to that point was equally as enthralling for me. And that's what made this such a good film. I mean, the reason it gets an 8 is because of some of the weird choices with Tashi's character that I mentioned, and some of the really weird camera shots that you mentioned, which I happen to agree with you.
It was super weird. Like I said, it really felt like, as they were getting in the third act of the movie, like, how many more ways can we shoot tennis?
But you know what I thought when I was watching this too, and that's why I asked you about the sports movie. Did you see Creed 3 last year?
No, I didn't see that one.
So Michael B. Jordan directed that. It was his directorial debut. It was really good. I really liked it. But he did a lot of really weird things with a boxing perspective, and it kind of reminded me of that a little bit too. Like, it was like, I didn't like them. I'm kind of with you. They didn't work for me, but I appreciate the fact that he tried something different that we've really never seen with a tennis movie. I mean, I've never seen anybody try to.
There's
do
a
any of those
way.
shots
Let's
before,
let's
so.
be fair. Let's be fair to Guadagnino here. There's a way to shoot this movie where you just shoot all the tennis as bland and boring as possible, like just the same overhead shots that you see on TV. I know Dan. I know Dan will get mad because he doesn't like hockey movies so much because they're not shot realistically enough compared to the way that they look on television. But I think that in terms of this movie, if you're settling on for over 2 hours of tennis and it's all that same exact point of view, man, the tennis would get boring. So I understand the choice to do it. But at the end of the great thing about this movie is by the end of this movie, you don't care about the tennis. The tennis isn't even the point. It's the journey these characters have been on. And
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I mean, in terms of movie endings, this is one of those ones that
It's good.
sticks with
It's
you.
a mic drop. It is a
Way
literal
after you
mic
leave
drop.
that cinema. Like, I mean, the ending of this movie instantly elevated it, probably 1.5, maybe even 2 points for me.
Yeah.
I was blown away by the ending of it. I was just like, dude, that's amazing. And I
It was
love,
so good.
again, here's the thing. Like, I bet you anything, I guarantee you, I go online, there's probably people being like, well, who won? You know, who won? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
What happened afterward? Like, that ain't the point, yo.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. We all did. she won.
That's true.
She
Anybody
won.
who went to see this movie won. That's true.
Yeah, Tashi
Sorry,
won
Brad.
too.
Brad, you won too, buddy.
Yeah, Brad's. I don't know why he's hating on this thing before he even saw it, but that's Brad for you. All right, look. Challengers, an 8 from me, an 8 from Nick, gives it an 8 overall
Good stuff,
from
man. This is
the piece.
I will sign up to see this kind of movie all day, every day. This was an absolute treat, man.
Real quick before we say goodbye to the folks this week, Nick, did you what do you think of Oscar chances here for Challengers? It's only April, and this
It's April.
I don't know.
It's April.
Yeah, I don't know.
Atticus, Reznor Ross will get a score nomination because they're Reznor Ross.
They better.
I don't think it'll see a lot of love outside of that because it's not the right time of the year. This is the time of year where you dump stuff that's not awards consideration because it's so far removed from it. Where this will never stick in people's minds, like all the way at award season. Like at the end of this, this won't be anywhere in the other conversation.
I tend to think you're right, but
I love it. Like I really do love it, and I would love to see like even
Zendaya.
Zendaya's so good in this movie, dude. Like,
do you think her performance was? Do you think her performance was better here or in Dune Part 2?
Better here by far. She just
I don't know, man. She was.
It's not that she was by far the best part of Dune Part 2 for me, and you know that.
She was really good, man.
She had a lot more meat on the page to chew on with this character.
Oh, yeah,
and
for sure.
I loved that. I'm a character guy, so I'm always gonna go with the character movie in that sense.
I mean, she's got a hell of a year going, that's for sure.
She is. Oh man, she's good.
I would love to see her get nominated for this, but I'm kind of with you where I just feel like it might be too early and too many other things are going to come along. I mean, it's definitely an Oscar-worthy performance, though, in this movie.
The thing I love about it, too, is, like, I mean, like, God damn, she looks good. Like, I mean, like, you never for a second doubt, like, that these two would immediately be captivated by her. Like,
100%.
There's this constant recurring kind of line between her and Art where she's like, are you still in love with me or are you in love with me? It's like, well, who wouldn't be? And it's exactly. I mean, she's that good in this movie. I mean, she's everything, dude. She's so good.
Well, we loved it, guys. Challengers, a high recommend from the P's. It's actually Nick's #1 movie of the year so far. It probably sits in my top 5 or 10 for sure. I really, really like this film. So 8 from both of us. Nick, next week, we hope the streak continues because we're going to be going to see Ryan Gosling in his new stunt homage called The Fall Guy with Miss Emily Blunt as well. I'm really looking forward to that one too, so I hope it pays off for us. We'll be checking that one out in theaters, and then I think we got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes coming up after that. So we should hopefully have a good run here. Fingers crossed that Zendaya served to us, and it's our job to just volley back and forth and get these points, man. What do you think?
This is one of those. I mean, this is just one of those movies where if you love character ambiguity and you love character complexity, where it's not going to give you all the answers, and you're going to draw your own conclusions, and you're going to think about this one after you leave the theater. I mean, this is just an absolute bang out. Get to the theaters and see this one. Give movies like this a chance. Don't go see garbage like Dune Part 2, even though Zendaya's in that too. Get Zendaya paid. I mean, by any means necessary, get her paid. But I mean, come on now.
All right. We love it. We love Zendaya. Go see Challengers. Nick, until next week, we will talk about Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, another one who's not difficult on the eyes. I'm talking about Ryan Gosling, by the way, but Emily Blunt's pretty hot too.
Gosling's
talk
like infinitely charming. Like, I mean, his charm has like increases like 100-fold every year.
So good. So
I
good.
mean,
Yeah.
the trailers have his kind of trademark like Ryan Gosling funny action humor thing all over it. So like, I mean, it looks like it's going to be funny. I just hope it's as fun as it looks.
Yeah,
and it's not like a really just dumpster fire disaster like Argyle was. I don't think it will be, but
my wife and myself and my son Logan are all going to see that on Friday night. We got a babysitter for the little one, so we're going to go check out The Fall Guy. Logan's excited for it too, so it'll be a family affair, and then we'll get together on next week and discuss it. Nick, until then, I love you, brother, and as we told everyone at the top of the show, look forward to the movie drafts. They're coming up. Our first one will be in the month of May. I'm really excited for that. So stay tuned for all the details on that, guys. But we will be back next week to discuss The Fall Guy. Nick, have yourself a good week out there, buddy. Be careful. Be safe.
Peace.